And I talk to folks in the Christian community and others that think it's part of the spiritual realm. I'm not doubting anybody's beliefs or anything. I'm not trying to rain on that. I'm just reporting what I've been told multiple times, and this is something I've pulled together. So I believe there's something going on.
How does this relate to UAP activities, Mr. Schellenberg, in oceanic environments? Are there any instances where the Navy or other maritime forces have encountered UAPs that could not be explained by known technology or natural phenomena?
Yeah, the Immaculate Constellation covers both terrestrial and oceanic, and there's actually a number of cases described in the report that occur in the ocean.
This week, Tennessee lawmaker Tim Burchett sharing about an account from an admiral describing an underwater UFO as large as a football field, moving at hundreds of miles per hour underwater.
The truth is out there, and it might be right here in the cabinets and halls of the United States Department of Defense. A bipartisan group of lawmakers is now calling on the disclosure of all classified intelligence on unidentified aerial phenomena and whether they arrived from out of this world.
They haven't been totally transparent with the information they do have. If it's not a UFO, then is it a weapon system?
If you don't give people a clear answer, and sometimes the clearest answer you can give is, I don't know, some will be suspicious of that.
You got notified by our 911 center there was concern of a sighting in Island Beach State Park. We responded. We met an officer, a certified New Jersey officer, not from our department, from another agency. And that officer did an excellent job. She documented. That's where you're getting the reports of 50 drones coming off the ocean. That's what she reported seeing. She was on duty at the time, and she reports that she saw 50 drones coming from the ocean to the mainland, transversing the airways over Island Beach State Park, going down towards Barnegat Light and coming to the seaside area. We have flight radar mapping capabilities, and we did not see anything on indicating it was a plane.
You know, in all your experience, right, what do you think, Sheriff Mastronardi, what do you think is actually happening in the skies over your community that could help kind of calm, you mentioned the word hysteria, right? And that's what happens. It's something like this is talked about so much that people believe that they're actually seeing a bunch more that they're actually seeing. But there is something going on. I saw it firsthand. So what are you telling folks, and what do you believe is actually happening?
Well, as I said, whoever it is has a lot of resources. Mm-hmm. The concern is that nobody has seen them take off or land. How's that possible? We're a very populated state. It's not like you're in the middle of nowhere. So the fact of the matter, nobody has seen them either come or land is troublesome.
There are rumors that have come up to the Hill of a secretive project within the Department of Defense involving the manipulation of human genetics with what is described as non-human genetic material, potentially for the enhancement of human capabilities, hybrids. Are any of you familiar with that? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
I am not, ma'am.
I'm not.
No, ma'am.
And do you believe that there is a concerted effort by the Pentagon to keep Congress out of the loop regarding these UAP activities, specifically in our waters?
Yes.
I think it's about 5% of our ocean that's actually been studied in detail by man, and we've studied more of space than we had of our own oceans. And so are there any accounts of UAPs emerging from or submerging into our water which could indicate a base or presence beneath the ocean's surface?
I don't know about a base, but as I mentioned, I had a different source entirely describe this pretty extraordinary footage that exists of orbs, of an orb coming out of the ocean and being met by another orb.
Some would say that there's multiple hot spots where we see frequent activity. So in your investigations, have you come across any data or visual evidence like sonar readings or underwater footage of these UAPs?
I have not beyond what's in the report.
You've written about UAPs not only in the air but in underwater. Are there any specifics on what you've learned about the UAP activity in our oceans? Particularly, have you spoken with sources who have provided any evidence or eyewitness accounts of these UAPs interacting with our naval forces or being detected by our underwater surveillance systems?
Nothing beyond what's in the report and then the specific case that I mentioned with the orb.
And there's basically, I've been told there's 5 really deep sea areas that we know more about the surface of the moon than we know about the surface of the ocean there. And you have a lot of UFO or UAP activity there. And people are sighting these things. You're having sailors, you're having different people all across the world. And the numbers seem to be higher in these areas. And that leads you to believe is something traveling light years? Is that even possible in our realm of thought? I mean, you're talking about the light from the closest stars left there before the time of Christ when we see it at night. So, you have to think, well, maybe something is here, and has it been here long? And, and I talk to folks in the Christian community and others that think it's part of the spiritual realm. I'm not doubting anybody's beliefs or anything. I'm not trying to rain on that. I'm just reporting what I've been told multiple times, and this is something I've pulled together. So I believe there's something going on. And our government, once again, is spending tens of millions of dollars on something that they tell us does not exist.
Comet, asteroid, or something else? A Harvard astrophysicist believes there's a strong likelihood this is a craft of alien origin. Give me the best case for why you think this object may be extraterrestrial and maybe alien form.
Well, first, its brightness implies that if it represents reflection of sunlight from a solid object, it needs to be 20 kilometers in diameter. That's bigger than Manhattan Island. And this is a giant rock. The previous interstellar objects were hundreds of times smaller. So it just doesn't make sense that the third object from interstellar space will be 100 times bigger than the previous two. And we won't see anything in between. And moreover, there is not enough rocky material in interstellar space to deliver us a rock of this size, 20 kilometers, over a period of about a decade that we conducted the survey of the sky, because this material is very rare, and you expect it once per maybe 10,000 years or longer. And so it's surprising if indeed it's a rock of that size.
NASA is saying this is a comet. It poses no threat to Earth.
Can you take us back? What exactly did this admiral tell you?
Well, the last thing he told me was they're real. He said they're real. It was just me and him talking in a doorway, actually, and he described sonar readings of something, and I believe it was described as large as a football field, and the speeds were just something that we're not even close to being able to do underwater. I wasn't thousands of miles an hour. It was in the realm of a couple hundred miles an hour, but still, I think the closest thing we've got something that does close to 40 miles an hour, maybe, or 45, something like that. I don't know, maybe some of our secret apparatus, but anyway, and this is not the first time this has happened. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to others that have said the exact same thing. People that were on a ship or on a sub, that's something, they had weird pings, things that showed up, and they moved at such a speed that it was just not fathomable. And he turned to him and said, "We have uncovered things that we do not understand. They're moving at speeds that we do not understand. They're at angles, stop and go." He said, "I don't know if it's a wormhole. I don't know how they are doing it, but they are doing it."
You've been meeting with some lawmakers here, and you're calling on Congress to pass the bipartisan UAP Disclosure Act. If they do pass it, what will we find?
Well, what we're going to find out is that there is an element deep within the Defense Department and the operations director of the Central Intelligence Agency that has been committing perjury to Congress, lying, denying the fact that they have recovered a non-human origin extraterrestrial spacecraft and the bodies that they've now DNA tested and know to be non-human.
You're saying, because you represent some whistleblowers, you're saying that they have disclosed to you that this evidence exists, these documents exist, that these phenomena have come indeed from out of this world with actual alien species.
That they know they're non-human.
Did they describe what those species are or look like?
Well, actually not yet to the public. We've gotten this information out. But the fact of the matter is that if we get this bill passed, and we're getting in the process this in the first week of September, we're hoping as soon as they come back from their summer break, that the Senate is going to pass a 64-page bill that mandates that all of the information that is 25 years old or more, that's basically anything before 2000, basically has to be immediately publicly released to the people, okay? And anything else is going to be submitted to a 9-person panel to be appointed by the president. And that panel is not only to go through it and decide what else to release right away, but they're going to set up a 7-year program called the UAP Controlled Disclosure Campaign Plan, to release all of this information over the next 7-year period so that we can adjust our economic systems, our geopolitical structures, our domestic political structures to try to accommodate the fact that we now are aware of the fact that there's an extraterrestrial civilization surrounding us.
So this law is set up to that if we do confirm this evidence that the American people, the world population will learn about this in a measured fashion. Does this include some of those space or those craft that were captured by U.S. Air Force pilots that seem to descend from the atmosphere to the sea, you know, within seconds, defying the laws of gravity and physics?
0.7 of 1 second.
0.7 of 1 second.
From 80,000 feet. In stopping instantaneously at the surface of the ocean because they've been engaged in a back engineering program. They've had these craft for some time and they've been engaged in back engineering the technology, trying to replicate some of these. And so there appear to be some craft that have been back engineered and constructed and that are being flown by U.S. Air Force personnel in a deep secret program. But the reality is that there are a major number of other craft that are not ours. They're not Soviet or they're not Russian and they're not Chinese. And so they're from somewhere else. But now that they've recovered the bodies and they've actually DNA tested them, they know that they're non-human.
Okay, so, all right, say this gets confirmed. What you're saying, what your whistleblowers have told you that worked in the Defense Department, how long do you think that they were here?
Well, they've been here, basically, a lot of the sightings started right around the dropping of the first atomic bombs in 1945. That's when they began showing up around White Sands in the Yucca Flats, and they've been spotted since then. And that they've been, the first crash retrieval was recovered in 1947. Okay, so they've been here since then. And there's all kinds of evidence indicating they've been here periodically earlier.
You know, when this story first came out a few weeks ago, as a resident of New Jersey, as a journalist, I didn't pay it much credence. I thought it would turn out to be a bunch of pranksters and this would all be over by now. The experience I had last night, however, changed the way I feel about this story completely. What I saw was more sophisticated than I ever imagined. Take a look.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 lights, 6 lights.
I didn't believe what I was seeing. But what was I seeing? We're here in central Jersey. We've been looking for the past hour. I think we've seen about 40 or 50 of these drones. In fact, there's one over my shoulder right there. One after another, after another. You know, the Ocean County Sheriff, that drone unit, they have an industrial grade drone. They put it up. They were tracking one of these drones, Elizabeth, and they said this thing easily evaded them, disappeared out of thin air. So, you know, to me, it's, if this is not our military, then it's even more scary, and we need answers, frankly.